to quit something, or start something, or to quit something, or start something, or send a message you have been sitting on for months. Maybe you woke up at 3 in the morning with your heart pounding and no dream to explain it. Maybe a conversation turned sharp without warning. Maybe the ground beneath a relationship you thought was solid suddenly felt thin. There is a reason for all of it, and the reason is written in the sky right now. Let me walk you through what is actually happening, because the architecture of this moment is extraordinary. Two forces collided today. Mars, the planet of action, impulse, and raw will, formed an exact square to Uranus, the planet of sudden disruption, liberation, and electrical shock. A square is not a gentle aspect. It is friction. It is two enormous energies pressing against each other at a 90-degree angle, and the pressure has to go somewhere. The exact degree is 2742. Mars at 27 degrees Aquarius, Uranus at 27 degrees Taurus. Hold that number for a moment, because it matters. Let me tell you about these two planets as if they were people, because that is the clearest way to feel what is happening. Mars is the one who walks into a room and changes it, not with charm, with force. Mars does not ask permission. Mars acts. When Mars is activated in your chart, you feel it in your muscles. Your jaw tightens, your fists close without you deciding to close them. You find yourself standing up before you have finished thinking about standing up. Mars is the soldier, the surgeon, the athlete, the lover who does not wait to be invited. Mars has been moving through Aquarius, the sign of collective systems, technology, and radical ideas. And in Aquarius, Mars does not fight for personal glory. Mars fights for a vision, a future that does not exist yet, a structure that has not been built. Now meet Uranus. Uranus is the earthquake, not the tremor, the full tectonic shift. Uranus has been in Taurus since 2018, slowly, methodically cracking the foundations of what we thought was permanent. Taurus governs money, land, the body, food, security, the things you can hold in your hands and say, "This is mine. This is real. This will not change." Uranus says, everything changes. Uranus in Taurus has been the energy behind cryptocurrency disruptions, inflation jolts, supply chain collapses, and the quiet creeping sense that the financial ground is no longer solid. Think about it. Since Uranus entered Taurus 8 years ago, the global relationship with money, with property, with what the body needs and what the body can endure, has been rewritten chapter by chapter. Uranus does not warn you. Uranus does not send a memo. One day, the wall is there. The next day, it is not. Here is what happens when Mars meets Uranus at a square. The soldier meets the earthquake. The force that wants to act meets the force that changes everything without asking. The result is not gentle. It is a crack. Something breaks. Something that was held together by tension or habit or fear suddenly cannot hold anymore. Relationships end in a single sentence. Jobs are quit on a Tuesday morning. Decisions that have been circling for years land in an afternoon. Not because you planned it, because the pressure reached the exact point where stillness was no longer possible. That is Mars square Uranus, and it just happened. Now, the 27th degree. This is not any ordinary position in the zodiac. In traditional astrology, the late degrees of fixed signs, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius, carry a particular weight. They are the degrees where energy has been building for nearly the entire sign's transit. Think of it this way. The first degrees are the entrance. The middle degrees are the journey. The late degrees are the pressure point just before the exit. 27 degrees of a fixed sign is the place where everything that sign represents is at maximum compression. So Mars at 27 Aquarius is collective pressure reaching its breaking point. And Uranus at 27 Taurus is material stability being struck by lightning at its most concentrated point. Here's what that actually looks like. It looks like the sudden realization that a system you have been participating in does not work. It looks like a financial decision that can no longer be postponed. It looks like a body symptom that finally demands attention. It looks like a truth you have been carrying in your chest that suddenly rises to the mouth. It is not comfortable, but it is honest. And sometimes honesty is the fracture the whole structure needed. Let me give you a historical lens. June 4th, 1989, Beijing. Mars and Uranus were in a hard aspect, and the tension between collective vision and entrenched power structures reached a point of no return. A generation of students stood in a square and said, "This cannot continue." They had been gathering for weeks. The energy had been building. And then, on a single night, the pressure exceeded the container. The response was violent. But the fracture was already made. The image of one person standing in front of a tank became the symbol of what Mars-Uranus energy does. It does not guarantee victory. It does not promise that the right side wins. It guarantees the moment where the tension breaks, where someone stands up, where the internal pressure exceeds the external structure. That is the energy that is active today. Not that you are standing in front of a tank, but that something inside you has reached the point where standing still is harder than moving. And here is the second layer. Mercury is retrograde. It turned retrograde on February 25th in Pisces, and it is only on day 2. Mercury in Pisces retrograde is the quietest kind of retrograde. Pisces is water. It is dreams. It is the unseen. Mercury here does not misplace your keys or crash your email. Not primarily. Mercury here replays conversations you forgot you had. It brings names to the surface. It makes your sleep strange and your intuition loud. Some of you have already noticed. A dream from 3 nights ago that will not leave you alone. A person you have not thought of in months who suddenly appeared in your mind for no reason. That is Mercury in Pisces. Mercury retrograde in Pisces is the witness. It is watching the fracture happen and asking, what did you already know? What have you been feeling for weeks that you have not said out loud? Mercury is not causing the disruption. Mars and Uranus are. But Mercury is making sure you cannot look away. It is replaying the footage. It is pulling at the thread you thought you had tucked out of sight. So you have 2 fractures in 48 hours. Mars cracking through Uranus, and Mercury turning the mirror inward. One breaks the external, the other breaks the internal defense. Together, they create a window where pretending is simply not available. And I want you to understand something. This is not chaos. This is a sequence. Everything that is happening this week is the opening movement of the most significant astrological season in nearly 4 decades. Saturn and Neptune are approaching their conjunction at 0 degrees Aries. That is March 20th. The lunar eclipse in Virgo is March 3rd. Mercury will station direct on March 20th, the same day as the conjunction. These events are not separate. They are one river, and today, Mars and Uranus cracked the dam. Sit with that for a moment. What you are feeling right now, whether it is fear or excitement or both, is accurate. Your body is not lying. The restlessness is not a flaw. It is a signal. And in the next 3 weeks, I will walk you through every turn of this river, every transit, every shift, every moment where the sky asks you to pay attention. But today, I want to leave you with one thing. The fracture is not the enemy. The fracture is how light enters. The question is not whether the crack has appeared. It already has. The question is what you do with the opening. Now, energy does not land the same way in every chart. The house that this square activates for you depends on where Aquarius and Taurus sit in your birth chart. Some of you will feel this as a professional earthquake, others as a relationship revelation, others as something shifting deep in the body itself. Here's what that actually looks like for each sign. And at the end of each one, I am giving you one action. Not 3 steps, not a checklist. One quiet thing to do before the weekend. Let me walk you through how this lands in your corner of the sky. Aries, Mars rules you. This is personal. The square is hitting your 11th house and 2nd house axis, community and money. A friendship may have shown its true cost this week. A group you belong to may have revealed a crack. Your body is buzzing with the need to act, but Mercury retrograde is asking you to wait. Not forever, just long enough to know the difference between impulse and instinct. Write down what you would start if fear were not a factor. That is your action. Taurus, Uranus is in your 1st house. You are the earthquake. The square is hitting your identity and your career axis. Something about how you present yourself to the world and what the world expects of you just collided. You may feel simultaneously trapped and free. Both are real. Notice what you are gripping. Loosen one finger. That is enough for today. Gemini, Mercury, your ruler, is retrograde. The fracture is happening in your 9th house and 12th house axis, beliefs and hidden things. A philosophy you lived by may be cracking. A spiritual assumption may be dissolving. This is uncomfortable, but necessary. Sit with one question tonight. What do I believe because I was told to believe it? And what do I believe because I have lived it? Cancer. The square lands on your 8th house and 5th house axis. Shared resources, intimacy, and creative expression. Something about what you share with another person, emotionally or financially, has reached a pressure point. Do not make permanent decisions this week, but do acknowledge the truth that surfaced. Write one sentence about what you actually need, not what is reasonable, what is real. Leo, your 7th house and 4th house, relationships and home. A partnership may have cracked this week, or a family dynamic shifted without warning. Someone said something that landed harder than it should have, and you are still carrying it. Uranus and Taurus has been restructuring your sense of home for years. Mars just accelerated it. Ask someone you trust one question. What do you see in the situation that I do not? Virgo. The eclipse is coming for you on March 3rd. Today's square is warming up your 6th house and 3rd house axis, daily routines and communication. Your body is speaking louder than your mind this week. A habit, a schedule, a daily pattern may have broken. That breakage is preparation. Do one thing differently tomorrow morning, just one. Let the disruption teach you what rigidity was hiding. Libra, your 5th house and 2nd house, creative expression and self-worth. Something you create, a project, a child, a relationship you are building, just met friction with what you believe you deserve. This is about value, not price, not cost. Value. Send one honest message today, not strategic, honest. Scorpio, your 4th house and 1st house, the most personal axis in the zodiac. Home, roots, identity, physical body. Something cracked at the foundation this week. You felt it. You probably tried to contain it. Scorpio contains. But Mars and Uranus do not ask permission. Let one thing be uncontained tonight. Speak one truth you have been holding in your chest. The room will not collapse. You will not collapse. Sagittarius, your 3rd house and 12th house, communication and the unconscious. A conversation broke open this week, or a thought you had been suppressing finally reached your awareness. The kind of thought that changes the shape of a plan. Mercury retrograde is making this louder. Do not try to organize it yet. Let the information arrive. Write it down raw. Structure comes later. Trust the arrival. Capricorn, your 2nd house and 11th house, money and community. Your financial architecture just received an electrical shock, or a community you invested in revealed something you did not expect. You are good at building, but sometimes the demolition is the most productive thing you can do. Cancel one obligation this week. The space it creates is the point. Aquarius, Mars is in your 1st house. This is your body, your will, your physical presence. The square is hitting your 1st and 10th house axis, who you are versus what you do in the world. You may feel like you are splitting in two. The version of you that the world sees and the version of you that only you know. They just collided. Let them. Spend 5 minutes tonight doing absolutely nothing. No phone, no music, no plan. Sit with who you are when no one is performing. Pisces, Mercury is retrograde in your 1st house. Neptune is approaching the conjunction in your sign's neighbor, Aries. You are in the middle of a dissolving, not a destruction, a dissolving. The square activates your 12th house and 9th house, the unconscious and the philosophical. Something you believed about yourself, something deep and unspoken, is losing its edges. That is terrifying and beautiful. Before you sleep tonight, say out loud what you actually need. Not what is reasonable, what is real. This is not a crisis. This is an opening. And the clearest sign that it is working is that the old shape of your life feels too small to hold what is coming. The fracture is not a failure. It is a doorway that was not there yesterday. Mars cracked through Uranus today. Mercury is watching from the depths. And the river that just started flowing does not stop here. It builds. What is building toward March 3rd, the total lunar eclipse in Virgo, is something I need an entire video to explain. That arrives tomorrow. If something in these words resonated, stay close. Share this with someone who is feeling the jolt too. And I will see you in the next one. Trust the fracture.